It's Hollie's Hotspurs back with another one. Chatting all things Tottenham, we're second to none. Special guests every time, if it's win, lose or draw. The passion is high like Harry Kane when he scores. Or when Lloris makes a world-class save. We got Højbjerg running the mid every game. Settle down, stick around, share your thoughts with the panel. And make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Coys.
There we go. Hello and welcome to another Hollie's Hotspurs Live, where tonight, yes, ladies and gents, we actually get to talk about a win. It's been a little while coming, but I'm here for it because the way we managed to go and do it was a madness, and I'm so pleased. And with me tonight, I have some cracking guests to go over that incredible win. First of all, this man needs no introduction, and that is Micky Hazard. Hazard, how are you tonight, my friend?
Very, very good. Looking forward to the show and talking about a win.
Hey, love it. And as well, we've got Patrick. Patrick, how are you tonight? You're looking swanky in that hat and that top.
I'm festival and carnival ready. So, yeah, I'm ready to rave and dance and celebrate. So, yeah, great win. Fantastic game. And obviously, we're going to chop it up. So, looking forward to it.
Love that. Thanks, Patrick. And also, Spurs Views, also known as Dara, who I would love to be able to spell your name, Dara, but I went for Spurs Views because that's obviously easier. How are you, my friend?
I'm all good, Hollie. Absolute pleasure being back. And look, Spurs Views is the alias I'll go by anyway. That's absolutely perfect. But absolute pleasure being back and pleasure coming on talking about a win for once. It's brilliant.
Oh, no, it's great, isn't it? It's been a long time coming. Before we get into it, I want to say thank you to everyone as well that's been watching Hollie's Hotspurs Live. And Carl, my man, you are the first member to the channel, so thank you so much. Let's get cracking.
Yes,
Jay,
shout out to Ross in the comments as well. Ross, my guy, always tuning in, always positive. Yeah, love it. There you go. Patrick got that drip. I see you.
Hey. And Jay, unfortunately, can't beat you to it, but thank you very much. So let's start with this then. Obviously, we'll come to you first, Hazard. It's obviously a win. I think the first thing that, obviously, we'll get onto the win itself, but I think for me, the first thing I saw was obviously Dyer's name back on the team sheet. And I think we've said this lots of times. I don't know how long we've waited for Dyer to be back in the team. It's a madness. You think back to the start of the season, we never really would have thought that. So, Hazard, how pleased were you to see Dyer back next to Romero?
Yeah, pleased to see him back. I think that when we have our best 11 players on the pitch, we look a decent team. And certainly Dyer would be in that best 11. And obviously Romero's top draw. So when you've got them two and Davies sort of playing down the left side of the three, it looked very solid. Against the top team, they didn't really create that much, which was down to how well we defended. And we created loads, so it was wonderful to watch, I've got to say. But lovely to see Dyer fit and well and making us look a much more secure team.
100%. I think that's the thing, because obviously, Patrick, like we said, we've missed Dyer for a long time, and it's actually been a long time we've seen Romero and Dyer together. And like Hazard said, it's been a long time to have that kind of stability at the back. Yeah,
it's wonderful because, Sanchez, bless him. I don't want to get onto any players, but he doesn't give you that calmness when he's on the ball. You're always worried. He's always a bit jittery. You can always get got at. Teams know to target him, let him have the ball, and then obviously just attack him. Where Dyer's got that more, with Romero and Dyer together, it's like yin and yang, because Romero's aggressive and he'll bite and he'll go for challenges, but he knows how to time it and he reads the game well, where Dyer has a bit more soothingness, calmness. And obviously Dyer can also spray and create attacks from the back as well. And to be fair, Dyer was just a colossal in our penalty box, heading everything, clearing, blocking. So they go really well together. And I put it out on Twitter saying that we really miss Dyer, and he goes straight back into our starting 11. And we had rival fans getting onto us saying, "Oh, you lot are down bad if you're waiting on Dyer coming back." But they saw it. It's against Man City as well, away at Etihad. You don't get a tougher game than that. And Dyer stepped in, hasn't played in a while, and he looked good. So, yeah, credit to him, man. Came back in, we needed him, and he put in a stellar performance. So, yeah, really happy with it.
Yeah, it was cracking. I mean, obviously, we did have Reguilon. Obviously, he came out and said that he had COVID. But Spurs Views, how do you think the wing-backs kind of played? Because I know against, obviously, Wolves and Southampton, they weren't too great. But I think they did okay against the likes of Man City, which in obviously hindsight is a bit strange to think that we're playing a top team like City and they played really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually think overall our entire defence played quite well, considering City have, I think, pretty much this. I think they're the second most goals scored in the league this season, and the 2 goals that they actually did get, one was one where Lloris fumbled it because he thought De Bruyne was going to get a touch, so he wasn't sure where the flight of ball was going, and the other one was a penalty. So when you're limiting City to those 2, and I wouldn't say they had any other absolute clear-cut chances, bar maybe Gundogan getting that shot away from the outside of the box, which is an unbelievable save from Hugo. But when you're limiting, I would say probably the most dynamic front 3 in the league in terms of how fluid they are in changing positions, and any of them can play as a false 9, or any of them can play in the left or the right or attack in the field. When you're limiting them to maybe 3-4 chances a game is absolutely incredible. So I actually thought, and I think really props to Ryan Sessegnon as well. Massive respect to him, because he's had a tough time of it with injuries and going out on loan last season. He hasn't had a steady stint in the team at all, and he's played in 2 really big games this season against Liverpool and City, and he hasn't put much of a foot wrong, to be honest. I know he had a tough game the week before when he came off after 30 minutes, and to have that mentality going out there again and giving his all and pretty much keeping Sterling quiet for the entire game, and then Mahrez, when he came on, apart from the penalty, didn't have much of a kick. I thought they did really well, and likewise Doherty, I want to put a word in for him as well, because I think he's got probably the most stick out of most Spurs players, to be fair. And I've been giving it to him as well, to be fair. But in the last moments of the game, I don't know if anyone see it today, but I didn't even recognize it at the time, but Doherty made a block in the 99th minute against Bernardo Silva, and he just gave a little fist pump at the end there, and you love to see that, guys coming on for 20 minutes and giving his all, proper heart in the sleeve stuff. So no, overall I thought we defended really well, and yeah, props to the wing backs who've actually got a lot of stick recently. So yeah, really happy.
And that's the thing, we've waited so long for players to put their bodies on the line, and I know it was unfortunate for Romero to obviously get that handball, but he put his body on the line. It was just unfortunate it went to a penalty. But that penalty didn't matter, because Mickey, we were on fire pushing forward. I want to highlight, obviously, first of all, we'll get on to Kane, because Kane is pretty much man of the match for everyone. But first of all, I want to talk about Sonny, because he did manage to get 2 assists, and I think in the last couple of games he hasn't really been firing. But have we seen Sonny back to life once again?
Yeah, it was lovely to see. He has been struggling, as have the team, and obviously when you have such quality footballers like Kane and Son in your team, you need them firing on all cylinders. And when they do, we look like we've got goals in us all day long. But Sonny in particular has been struggling. He's not looked sharp. He's not looked anywhere near his best. And he came alive. And as he's made the point, Spurs News made the point, or Spurs Views, made the point about the City setup sort of seems to sit well with our team. We've beaten them quite a few times. I bet we've beat them more than any other team during Guardiola's reign. And their setup, the fact that they throw so many men forward, that leaves the gaps for us to exploit on the quick breakaway. And when you got Sonny and Kane and people of that ilk, you're likely to cause them lots of damage, and that's what we did. And in fact, if the truth be known, we actually didn't score enough for what we should have, because we played tactically we were supreme. We exploited the gaps that their fullbacks left. Sonny was running into those areas, those little diagonal runs. There were other situations that we should have scored from. Harry obviously had one disallowed by VAR. So it was a great counter-attacking performance, and well thought out, because as Harry said in his post-match after the match interview, when he said, we'd worked on that pass that he hit for Sonny's first goal in the week in training, which says, this is what Manchester City are going to do. They're going to dominate possession. They're going to throw their fullbacks, create overloads all over the pitch up top. But we need to exploit the gaps that they vacate. And that's exactly what we did. And we played it to perfection. And in my mind, we were fully deserved of the 3 points, and actually were the better team.
100%. And that's the thing. As soon as we managed to beat that high press, like you say, Mickey, there was loads of gaps behind. We just had to beat that first press. And with the balls that Harry Kane was spreading through, it was pretty much inevitable that we were going to get on the score sheet. And
I thought you said we weren't going to talk about Harry Kane yet.
Sorry, can't help myself. That's the thing. It's magical. That's the thing. I'll stay clear of Harry Kane just now, but obviously we'll talk about that first goal. And I always butcher his name, so I'll just call him Kully. But Cooley managed to get on the score sheet in his first starting game for Spurs. So for him, Patrick, how over the moon do you think he was? And do you think he's really going to be that Spurs player that's going to push on now and give us a bit of versatility up top?
You know what? It's so interesting because in his celebration, it was almost, you could see the relief in his face because for me, I just think our fan base, we're so fickle and sometimes we target the wrong players for the wrong reason. I didn't see any problem in his performances so far. I thought he looked good when he come on. He was trying. We get people saying, "Oh, he's not quick enough. He's not." I'm like, does every good player have to have pace? One of our best ever players in the Premier League ever, Teddy Sheringham, he didn't have a lick of pace, but he was so good at doing everything else. Berbatov as well wasn't the quickest guy, but look how good he was. I mean, pace isn't everything, and people they need to come away from this whole FIFA mindset that you need a 99 pace, ability to be a good player. You don't. You can. There's other things, and Kulu was fantastic, direct. He runs at players. He creates things. I mean, obviously, we don't want to jump too far ahead, but the third goal, him running at the player, whipping that cross into the back stick, doing stuff that we've all wanted our wide players to do. And great pass by Kane. No look, literally swept the ball. Weighted pass was perfect for Son. Sonny doing what he does best, but he wasn't selfish. He didn't go for the shot, squared it across, open goal, 1-0. So it was brilliant. I was a bit worried because, like against City, a team of that, you're like, maybe scoring too early is going to wake them up and then you're going to get an onslaught for the rest of the game. And obviously they did, but they weren't that great in possession. We didn't have a lot of the ball, but every time we had the ball, like Micky was saying, we looked dangerous and they weren't that great, but I guess that's because of our defense as well. I think we played well offensively and defensively, and we stifled them. So, yeah, I'm so happy for him because we've got a lot of people saying he was a Juventus reject. He's not that good, but I think he's class. And I know it's early days, but I think both of them really complement our system. They're both willing to work hard offensively and defensively, and they've got the quality when it matters. So, yeah, really, really pleased for him. And people forget he's still so young as well. So he's going to learn and get better every game. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from both of them so far. And when I say both of them, I'm talking about obviously Bentancur and then Kulusevski. I'm not. His name's it's so hard to pronounce, but Kulu for short.
Just Cooley, isn't it?
Let's call it Cooley. It's a lot easier. But before I get on to you, Spurs, I want to say thank you to Carl as well for joining the member. I haven't really called us a name yet. We'll think of that at some point, but thank you very much. And Spurs, views, I'll come to you, Dara. We've spoken a bit about Sonny, and I'll get on to his partner now, Harry Kane, because we have finally seen that connection reignite of obviously after all of the kind of mishap in the summer in potentially going to City. There was a bit of, I don't know if you could see it from the naked eye, but they didn't seem to be connecting so much. But this game against City, they were back to their old ways, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. It was absolutely scintillating, and you could tell how much that first goal especially meant to Kane. I don't think he celebrated a goal that much all season, to be honest, but you could just see that meant so much to him as well. And after the game, the interview between Son and Kane, I thought that was brilliant. Sonny was proper backing him up and saying, I felt so bad at the start of the season when people were giving him a stick. And I think it's nice the players are coming out saying that they're acknowledging that I suppose things weren't going their way at the start of the season and that they have each other's backs behind the scenes. They don't always have to come out and say it, but, that solidity is there behind the scenes. So that's lovely to hear as well. But yeah, they were so dynamic. It was brilliant. That first goal, the Kulusevski got the finish in the end, but that was magic. I mean, you don't give a pass like that unless Sonny is making that run, and it was clockwork. It was stunning, really. And the fact that Conte came out and said it afterwards as well, that was a well-worked goal, and that, like, the ball didn't leave a Spurs player's foot from Lloris up to Kulusevski, and I thought that was incredible. And that was down to both Kane's vision and Son's reading of the game and knowledge of Kane's game. So it was just brilliant to see them back to their best, and long may it continue, because I'd love to see Harry firing again now proper for the last few games of the season, whatever we have, 15, 16, 17 games is this left. You'd like to see him push his numbers up, because I'm sick of hearing, especially rival fans, saying that Kane isn't playing properly for Spurs, he's waiting for his move, blah blah blah. That's not the case whatsoever. Like, if anyone has been watching Spurs regularly, he mightn't have been doing it in front of goal, but he's doing it everywhere else, Harry. He's an absolute magician. And the minute that Son and Kane are on form, Spurs are on form. So it's not surprised that when they were ticking that we won the game.
100%. And that's the thing, like you said, it is like clockwork. And I know there's been lots of times where people say that, like Joe said, we play counter-attacking football. But like you said, that started right from the back and that progressed all the way through. And that's the thing, Mickey. I think, obviously, Conte read the game really well to start with. We've all kind of said that you need to exploit the gaps in behind City's press. But it's just the way that Harry Kane is just reignited. I mean, he's been class throughout the whole time at Spurs, but obviously we've had that little bit of blip. But do you think now his head's fully concentrated 100%, Mickey, on Tottenham?
I think it always has been. I think that sometimes you have dry spells and it sort of becomes out of your control. In other words, you do everything that you would normally do in a game, and sometimes it works for you and sometimes it doesn't. Unfortunately, it sort of became a prolonged period for Harry. The interesting thing about the first goal, for instance, I'm a great believer in that. I was very much a natural footballer myself. I sort of did things instinctively and off the cuff, but I'm a great believer in that you can actually choreograph the great game as well. And I was so interested to hear Harry say after the game that how they'd worked on this sort of move all week in training. And and if you do, when I coached the schoolboys at Tottenham in the academy, I used to work on choreographed sequences, like passing and movement and certain trigger points. When the ball's set back to you, that should trigger a forward run because then the ball will be played into that space. And it looked to me like, having heard Harry's after-match interview, that all week they'd maybe been working on something similar in a sort of choreographed fashion. And of course, you work it and work it and work it. And while it's choreographed in training, when it happens in the game, it becomes natural. It looks like it happened off the cuff, but actually it's took many training sessions and attempts to do it to make it work naturally in a game. So that was lovely to see, and to hear Harry not taking all of the acclaim for the pass, because however way we look at it, it was a world-class pass, world-class movement, world-class pass. And Harry could have easily said, well, blah, 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 I was great. But he didn't. He passed a lot of the acclaim off onto Conte, which was really nice because Conte, great manager that he is, would just had 3 defeats. And as a manager, that sort of preys on your mind and you want to lift. And Harry sort of saying, look, this is what we worked on in training. We've reproduced it in a game at the very top of the league. And it's came off and we've scored from it. That must be wonderful from a manager's point of view to hear one of your teammates talking about something you've worked all week in training. And it shows us as fans that, this guy is a genius because he's exploited Manchester City's weaknesses while rehearsing a choreographed move in training. Wonderful to see, and long may it continue. And actually, our third goal was absolutely sensational. And I don't know, I wasn't aware at the time we'd had about 15, 16 passes before we scored. It was only when I rewatched it that I, for the 44th time, of course, when I rewatched it and saw how many passes was involved in that final goal, it was quite incredible, really. That's the type of thing that City would do to the opposition. And that was what was expected once they got the penalty and got the equaliser. Everybody expected them to go on and win the game by taking control of it and passing the ball and moving it and eventually getting in on goal. Actually, it was us that did it. We sort of took over the mantle from City. We controlled possession. We controlled it. We played it. We moved it side to side. Then one switch of the play. Suddenly we're in behind and it's in the back of the net. It was a wonderful goal. Absolutely wonderful team goal. And again, shows one belief, the belief at the top team in the league, or probably in Europe, that we worked on all week, a method of how to beat them. And it showed the quality, and it was great that the young Cooley, it was great that he was involved in the third goal as well, because it was a great ball in right in the danger area. All round for me it was our best performance of the season. We beat Man City 1-0 at White Hart Lane, but we were under the cosh for 90 minutes. That was done on passion and desire and heart. This was done on quality. We actually outplayed them, outthought them, and outmaneuvered them. I thought it was wonderful.
It was cracking. And Chart, he is sadly upside down, and he will stay upside down. until his side-to-side movement is as what's the word, well choreographed than just random side-to-side movements. But I'll move to you, Patrick. Obviously, Micky's talking about the third goal, and it was really interesting because, again, I didn't actually notice how many passes we made before we managed to get that goal. And that's the thing as well, because we were actually passing with intent rather than, I joke about Winks, rather than passing it side to side and not really gaining any momentum. We were waiting for them to move and then playing that killer ball through.
It was fantastic. It was fantastic because, like Micky said, that was 2-2. We had just conceded, a stoppage time equaliser. Typically against Man City, most teams or most players' heads would drop. We thought, no, let's go and get this. We've been leading up pretty much the whole game. Let's go on and win this. And that shows the mentality difference. And yeah, we passed the ball around because a lot of people afterwards are saying, oh yeah, you guys always do well against teams where, you can see possession, counter-attacking football is your bag. But I was like, that third goal wasn't a counter-attacking goal. We literally moved the ball, like Micky said, from side to side, sprayed it around. And that was a quality goal against quality opposition. With all the respect to a Brentford and a Watford or even a Norwich, this is Man City at the Etihad, and the way we passed the ball around. Then Bentancur, I know he didn't have a great game in the sense of he did get caught on the ball a few times, but for him to pass the ball the way he did over to Kulusevski and then Kulu to cut in and whip that cross with precision to the back stick, Harry Kane to run in there and headed that in, that is belief, desire and quality and execution all around. It was fantastic and yeah, well deserved. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. Yeah,
can I ask you all a question?
Yeah.
Come on. Who's going to be honest? When we had the ball with 30 seconds to go and the score was 2-2.
Yeah.
Were you just shouting, keep it, keep it, keep it? Or were you saying go for the win?
Go for the win. The way we were moving the ball around, you could see that there was something there.
That's the perfect answer, because that's what our philosophies are. To dare is to do, or dare for faire. That's what we're about, to go for the win. And sometimes going for the win, it costs you the win. You get the lose. But I wouldn't have it any other way. If we'd have gone for that ball, Harry hadn't scored, they'd kicked it downfield and scored and won 3-2, I would have said, that's fine by me. We had a go. And this is how Tottenham need always to play. We always need to play this way. We need to go for it. We need to attack. And always when we're on the offensive, we're a much better team anyway.
Yeah.
But this is what we were, as a youngster at Spurs, this is what I was brought up on, that we have to go for it. Go out there, do everything in your power to win. And yes, sometimes it'll cost you a defeat, but a lot of the time it'll cost you a win. And thankfully on Saturday, we got the win. And that was, brilliant. For me, hopefully that'll show them this is the way we have to play the game. We have to go for it.
100%. And that's the thing, because obviously you look at the previous games with obviously Wolves and Southampton, I just feel like we just stepped off the gas. But it's like we play up to our opponents, isn't it, Spurs? We go to City like, right, we've got a fight on our hands. But it seems when we play the lower opposition, we just kind of roll over it. It's very strange.
Spurs trait.
Spurs
is a Spurs trait. I remember when I was playing, we had Brighton at home, who was sitting about third from bottom. We were sitting top. We had Brighton at home and we had to win to consolidate our position at the top. And we lost 1-0 at White Hart Lane.
It's typical, isn't it? Even back then.
From a personal point of view, give me Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea to play against any day of the week.
Not Chelsea, not Chelsea. Yeah, not Chelsea. We just can't beat Chelsea. I don't know what it is, but we just can't beat them.
Yeah, we can't. We will one day.
Yeah.
We will one day.
Fingers
crossed. Coming, don't worry.
But Spurs News, obviously we've spoken a lot about the goal. What was your kind of thoughts? Were you thinking because I was thinking when that penalty went in, I was like, it would have been lovely to obviously got 3 points off of them, but I'll take a draw. And I didn't see it coming. Obviously I can now say, haha, I should have believed in it, but I really didn't see it coming. Did you, Spurs News, or were you had in the back of your mind it was coming?
Look, I'll be honest and say that I didn't see it coming, and I wouldn't say that I wanted us to play for the draw either, but I didn't think it was going to happen. And I mean, that's the third time this calendar year that I've been proved wrong by Spurs. I think they're doing everything we don't expect them to do. That's the old Spurs mantra. I think they just do whatever you expect them to do. They'll do the exact opposite. You think they're going to win, they lose. You think they're going to lose, they're going to win.
So think they're going to lose every week then.
I'll have to stick some bets on or something. I don't know. But no, like the Leicester game, Watford game, and the City game, I think they like those last minute winners. You can't beat those fields in football. So look, I didn't see it coming, but all the better for it, because if you expect this to happen, it wouldn't have been half as exciting. So brilliant. But I think it shows the team Spurs, and it shows that Conte is getting through to them, and it's giving them a belief to push forwards, that they can, no matter what, get there in the end. You know, like the Leicester game, I know we should not even on talking about that really, but that was insane. And City game similar to that as well. They just had the belief, they had the heart to say, no, the game's not over yet, let's do it. I think Spurs in the past may not have done that, or may not have been that brave. So hopefully that's Conte getting through to them, as well as belief in themselves as well. But it's all well and good showing that you can do it in those hard times as well. But in the games you're probably more expected to win, you know, you have to show that same fight and desire for those games as well. I wouldn't call it complacency so much as, maybe you would call it complacency, but I think it's more like, as you said,
I'd probably say application. It's just making sure. Yeah,
I was trying to find the word. You're absolutely right. It's almost like pulling the foot off the gas, or we can go into like 7th gear for this game rather than 10th gear. You're not really going through the motions a little bit, you know. So I'd like to see us get up for that Burnley game midweek now, and that Leeds game, similar to we were to that City game, because if we can put on that show against City, there's no reason why we can't do it at the likes of Burnley and Leeds. That's no disrespect to them, just City are that good, and if you can play that well against them, you can play that well against anyone in the league or in Europe, to be honest.
It is interesting you obviously mentioned the Burnley game, because that is who we've got next. And Mickey, they did beat Brighton 3-0. So on that kind of respects, they'll definitely be up for the game. Will that work in our favour, do you think?
I have to say they should be up for every game. My big disappointment in the 2 previous games, Brighton and Wolves, wasn't so much that we lost the game. It was that we, when you're playing at your stadium, you have to get at them in the first 20 minutes. From every manager that I ever played under said, let's get at them. Let's not give them a second to breathe in that first 20 minutes. When we're playing away from home, they used to say, calm the crowd, quieten the crowd down, calm the game down, take the sting out of it, take your time, keep solid, for that first 20 minutes, so you give nothing away, you don't give them anything to go on, you don't lift the fans and you shut them down. But it looked like we were playing away from home. We were shutting down. We're playing Brighton and Wolves, and we're not getting at them. We're not pressing them. We pressed Manchester City, who are the top team in Europe. We pressed them better than we pressed Brighton and Wolves, and that's the way we have to play the game. Let's go for it. Let's go from the first whistle. And that doesn't mean go for it like you're 2-0 down with 5 minutes to play. It means go for it from a sensible perspective, where you're not throwing caution to the wind. You're still retaining a sense of solidity at the back too. Because every time I watch this team play, and I must say that when we have our best 11 players on the pitch, we're capable of beating anybody on our day. Unfortunately, I'm not just sure our backup keeps us as a strong. When Manchester City make 3 or 4 changes, they're still a great team. When we make 3 or 4 changes, and in modern day football, there's lots of rotation goes on every week. But we don't necessarily make ourselves stronger or the same. We make ourselves weaker when we rotate. So I worry when we rotate, and sometimes it shows that the players that are coming in are not necessarily as good as the ones going out. So that's why I'd always play my best 11, mate.
I like this. I think that's the thing, because there's been many managers that have tried and tested this kind of switching of players and rotation, and I think that's obviously definitely to be used when we have cup competitions. But obviously we've only in the FA Cup now. So Patrick, do you hope that, going off of what Mickey said, that we will play our strongest starting 11? And I'll put 2 questions in that as well, because obviously Lucas has been slipped off in the subs bench sort of because of Cooley coming in. Do you think that's something we'll retain, or could that be the position that's potentially the one that rotates?
I hope we keep the same 11. I don't see why, like we need to change a winning formula. Maybe Reguilon will come in for Sessegnon if he's back fit. But other than that, it should stay exactly the same. I don't see why we need to keep chopping and changing. Even if we've got 2 games in a week, they're more than capable to do that. With the top 4 race being so tight, obviously Arsenal picked up points, Man United picked up points. Chelsea is still where they are. They're running away with it. We need to get 3 points, and we need to play our strongest or best 11 that suits the system, which is what we put out there. Like I said, other than Sessegnon for Reguilon, I would pretty much keep it as is. Lucas has been, I'm a big fan of Lucas, but he has been a bit poor recently. His touch hasn't been great. He hasn't been as effective or decisive in the final third. So I like the Kulusevski change, and obviously coming in and getting a goal and assist on your first start. You can't really then knock him to the subs bench. It would make no sense, and it would knock his confidence because he'd be thinking, what else do I need to do if I've had a brilliant game and I'm dropped? So keep it as it is. We know what's at stake right now. We need the 3 points, and I just hope they turn up. If they play the same way they did, I know every game's different. I know we'll have a lot more of the ball, but as long as they have that same the keyword application, as long as they come in with that application and intensity, I don't see why we can't beat Burnley. I know I don't want to get carried away because I went into the Brighton game and the Wolves game thinking, this is definitely 3 points, we're going to win, and we got knocked back a bit. But as long as the guys know what they need to do now, Son and Kane finding form, defense looks a bit more solid now. I don't see why we can't win it, but we need to just make sure we respect them and just do our job, really.
100%. That's the thing. It's a funny old thing. We always say we want them to turn up, and when we need them to turn up, or when there's points on the line in a sense that other teams around us are dropping points, we never seem to do it. But obviously, we know Burnley will play. Well, they will play different to obviously City. So, do you think that will hinder Spurs' views, or do you think because we've unlocked that connection between Kane and Son, and we hope it's going to carry on? Can Kane? I know Kane's our striker, but can he unpick those holes as much as he did against City?
Listen, the Burnley game is going to be a very different game to the City game, obviously, because we're almost guaranteed to have more of the ball than Burnley. So that whole kind of, I suppose, quick dynamic ball that we were playing may not work quite as well against Burnley. So I'm sure Conte will have a different tactic in mind for that. But yeah, I'd like to think like Kane on his day, or to be honest, any day, can pick apart any team. He's that good. But we will have to bear in mind that we will have more of the ball. I'd be looking at the likes of Bentancur and Højbjerg to be creating a lot more in that game. I know Bentancur, in fairness, progressed the ball extremely well, but I know a lot of our play kind of came from the wings and came from Kane dropping back and delivering that ball out wide and then coming back in. But I'd say Bentancur and Højbjerg will have an even bigger role probably to play in that Burnley game and probably that Leeds game too. But yeah, I'd expect a tough game. Burnley are fighting for their lives here. I know that's a very cliche thing of me to say, but they are, so they'll be equally looking for points as much as we are, and it definitely won't be an easy game, far from it. But you'd be hoping with the confidence that you would have gained from beating City in the fashion that you would. If that didn't give you confidence, I don't know what could possibly give you confidence. Because I'd be over the moon if I beaten City and I scored the winner in the 7th minute or 6th minute or whatever it was. So they'll all be buzzing. They'll all be well up for it. I bet they can't wait to get back in the field again. So yeah, let's hope for the same application as there was on.
No, 100%. That's the thing. We just want them to apply themselves. I'm just going to bring this up from Ross Micky Hazard. I want to ask you this. Is obviously my good mate Harry Winks has not been playing to his best at the moment, and I'm really liking Bentancur, and he is the one that obviously likes to bring the ball up. And Højbjerg for Denmark does the same sort of thing. So is it true what Dara says in the sense that they need to be doing more in the middle rather than letting it go out wide? Or do you think that's just the way Conte likes to play his system? Play it out wide, whip a ball in and get the goal in the back of the net? Or do you think that's just, how it's going at the minute?
No, I think that's just how it's panning out. I think that, if you play in the middle, that opens up the space on the outside. If you play on the outside, it opens up the space in the middle. Football's a game of opposites. Whatever you do, if you want the ball to feet, then make you run away first to check back. Or if you want the ball in behind, come towards the ball and spin and go in behind. It's a game of opposites. And I always say that If we want the space down the flanks, all top teams will narrow down. If you're coming through the middle of the team, pretty much like our third goal, we're coming through the middle of the team. You know, we went from side to side and came into the middle, and then we switched it in one pass out to the right wing. He cuts inside, crosses it, and it's in the back of the net. So to create the space on the flanks, you need the space. You need to be playing through the middle, and vice versa. So both are equally as important as the other. And if you watch City play, their wide players stay so wide it's untrue, and that gives them so much space to switch the play from side to side, and they move the opposition round. And by the end of the game, they must be shattered because the movement. But they all start playing through the middle to create the space on the outside, and that's what we must do as well. That's how our third goal came about. We passed it to the left, and then it went into the middle, and then it got switched to the right, where we had all the space, and then bang, it's in the back of the net. So we must be able to do both. I like the look of the new guy in the centre of the park. I know, yes, he got caught 3 or 4 times. Surprisingly for a top player, yeah, those are the types of things that you don't get caught on with someone coming from behind. Generally, you'll get a sliding tackle or you'll get caught from the front. But when you've got the ball, and particularly on the edge of your box, you know you're going to be closed down quickly. So he shouldn't have got caught, but there was lots of good things. I liked his closing down. I liked how aggressive he was. I liked how sharp into the challenge he was, but he's also very good on the ball. And I think he's going to be a good player for us. And I think whoever's looking to take his place in midfield might have a problem, because I think he's going to be a very good player for us. So, yeah, we've got the players in there. Winks, I think the last time I was on, I think I was talking about Winks. And I was saying if I was coaching Harry, I would be making him more penetrating. I would set up a lot of choreographed drills, choreographed passing for him to do. Look, when in this situation, when this occurs, give Harry that movement. Harry, this is the space you need to hit it into. And I'd work it continuously over and over and over again, because you can develop this sort of what looks like awareness, but it's actually choreographed. And Harry Winks is a good footballer, but he needs to find a penetrating pass on a more consistent basis. It's in his locker, but if we choreograph situations for him and work on it, I'm certain that he'll develop naturally that eye for that pass, and then he would be an even better option than he is. But this kid, this young boy that's came in, I think he's going to take a bit of shifting. I really do.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We all know I'm Winks' biggest fan, but as you can tell behind me, he's been ticking me off lately. But yeah, like you say, obviously Bentancur, he has that killer pass within him, and it is interesting, obviously, Micky, that you obviously mentioned the fact that he does get dispossessed off the ball in times when you don't think he should be. But Patrick, do you think that's him trying to adapt to the Premier League? I mean, we could probably say about Kuddy as well. There's a few times he was nudged off the ball here and there. Is that just the strength of the Premier League?
Yeah, no, I just think that he just didn't read the game in the sense of, like, it's Man City, they are animals, and when they lose the ball, they literally try and win it back within a couple of seconds. And I think he just wasn't at the races in terms of the pace of the game, because there were certain times when he moved the ball around quite nicely and no one thought anything of it. But you know, the times when he got dispossessed, they're magnified. And obviously, even me, I was screaming at the TV, like, what are you doing? Like, against Man City, you don't want to get caught lacking in dangerous areas. But to be fair to him, the fact that he didn't go hiding, because we've seen players when they get dispossessed in key moments, they don't want the ball again. He kept going for the ball, timed, like Micky said, timed his tackles brilliantly, was biting and hungry and aggressive as well. And obviously he then still has that courage and that quality to pick a pass and execute at the right moment. I think I know it's early, you don't want to get too carried away, but from what I've seen of him, I'm really impressed. So as long as he continues doing that, I think we're all going to be really happy.
I mean, you say don't get too excited. When I had Costa on the other week, I kind of compared him to Dembele, and he was not happy when I said that. So, yeah, we won't get on to comparing players to other players. But so, what's your kind of take on Bentancur as well? Obviously, I say his name horrendously wrong, but what are your kind of thoughts on him as well?
Yeah, no, I think he's different class, to be honest. You can see his composure on the ball and what he brings to midfield straight away. His presence, everything about him, he's brilliant. And like Micky and Patrick said there, he did give the ball away a few times, and in other games it could prove costly, those kind of things. But again, I would genuinely do put that down to lack of knowledge of the league. Man not quite understanding how intense teams are in the Premier League. The Italian league is a little bit more passive. So you'd probably say it's just getting to grips with the pressures of the Premier League, and I think that'll come with time. And I think the same can be said for Kulusevski. A couple of occasions, possibly in his first couple of games, where he was just kind of thinking he had more time than he had, and it made kind of Kulusevski seem like he was slow, which I don't think is true, by the way. I don't think he is a slow player, but on Bentancur, I think he's a top player. He's got a bit of everything about him. A well-roundedness about him. He's good tackler, aggressive, very good technical player, and reads the game so well. So I think he's going to be a top player. And for all Winks, I think he could be staying on that dartboard for a while, Hollie, because anytime soon.
And I feel like my other half, Jay's placed that in the right position, to be honest. I think that's why I wanted to put it there.
Hang on, it's really, really important. And I was discussing with someone today, the backup of a team. You know, like Harry Winks, for instance, at this moment in time, he's not part of the best 11. Okay, what's he going to do about it? And this is the reason why you have a best 11, because it must drive the people behind on to become better players. And then when you get your chance, you have to take it. You know, if you're just guaranteed a place because the manager rotates, then there's not a necessity for you to improve and get better and work harder to get your place. Whereas if you know, well, hang on, I've got to compete for a place here. I've got to fight. I've got to work. I've got to really improve, show out in training, and earn my place back in the team, so that when one of them in the team loses their form, I'm in and I'm ready. And that's the advantage of having a first 11 that's generally regarded as the first 11, is it must inspire the ones behind. It's twofold. It inspires the ones in the team to stay in the team, because when I was playing, if we got out the team, it was bloody hard to get back in, so you didn't want to lose your place in the team. But when you were out, that meant you had to fight even harder to get back in the team. And that's how I think football should be, is that if you're not in the team, you fight harder to get back in. And if you're in the team, you fight harder to keep your place. And if it's working from both sides, then the team is benefiting. The players in the team are playing better and fighting harder and working harder because they don't want to lose their place. And they know they're under pressure from the ones behind because they're fighting hard and working hard and trying to compete for your place also. So it has a really two-pronged attack on making you a better footballer.
It is an interesting thing you've made there, because I think Harry Winks did have a little blip. Obviously, when he came back into the side, I was giving him he scored that free kick, didn't he? And I went nuts when he did that. So it kind of shows that once you get back into that team and he slots in, he does manage to do something. But then again, it's keeping and maintaining that standard. And I think having the likes of Bentancur and Skip now in the fourfold, I think he is slowly slipping down the pecking order. But I do hope he brings it up, obviously. But there we go. I just want to touch quickly on Hugo Lloris. Now, I did make a video, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and I branded it so horribly wrong that I got a lot of abuse for it, saying that I think I branded it saying, is Hugo Lloris finished? And I did not mean he was finished. I just meant that obviously he has been having a few blunders at the moment, and he did have another one against City. But Patrick, is it too late for those people that got my title wrong? He is not finished, is he, that man?
No, he's not. I mean, I touched on the fickleness of us Spurs fans a few questions ago, and I think we need to rewind to the time when he hadn't signed a contract and we were all begging for him to sign it. And what's going on with Hugo? When's he going to sign the extension? He was brilliant. He still is brilliant. Of course, it doesn't help when you have these mistakes, and with goalkeepers as well. I mean, it's the hardest position in the game, isn't it? Every mistake pretty much leads or costs you a goal. The one against Man City was annoying because it looks like a routine save, but then with De Bruyne running at him, you just don't know if he misjudged the flight of the ball. You just, and just like that, it's a goal. So it's not great, especially after, last week, but he then pulls off a world-class save to keep us in the game. So it swings and roundabouts. He still, for me, is a top keeper. I do think he's so underrated. I'm glad, though, that he's still here. Still a brilliant keeper, and I'm happy with him. Of course, I'm not happy with the recent mistakes. Of course not. But as a whole, I think he's fantastic. Definitely not finished. And yeah, like I said, it just goes to show there's moments in games, even the games where we were getting beaten 2-0 and 3-0 at the beginning of the season. Without Lloris, it would have been cricket scores. We were under siege and the guy was pulling off world-class save after world-class save. Of course, his distribution for me is always going to be frustrating. Sometimes when he does spray the ball, he kind of gives the defenders a bit of a, the pass isn't great and then they're under a bit of pressure. But other than that, yeah, I'm not going to get onto him. I mean, we won the game. Let's just be happy that we won the game. We're kind of like back in the mix, top 4-ish. I'll just take it from there, man. There's a lot of positives. There's more positives than negatives from that game. So I'm going with that.
100%. And thank you as well, Patrick, for setting people straight as well. That
there you go. There you go.
Was finished.
There you go.
But I just want to come to you, Dara, because obviously when Hugo made that exceptional save, I thought he was injured, and I was thinking to myself, I do not want to see Goalini in that goal.
Yeah, you know what, Holes? I thought the same thing. I was like, oh my God, what a save. But if Goalini comes in, we're finished. I literally thought that. Crazy.
Were you feeling the same as well, Dara?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you ever want to know how much you value a player, it's just seeing what the opposite number could possibly do if they come in. Man, if you think Lloris is culpable to make mistakes, Goalini, if you put him in there for 90 minutes against City, think about it, man. Is it?
Oh my God, yeah.
I don't want to parade Goalini for old Goalini, but listen, my opinion on Goalini is he's nowhere near the standard we need. But anyway, Hugo, top player, and for the amount of goals he may have conceded, or the amount of goals he costs us, if you want to say that, he saves tenfold. So I think Hugo probably was irreplaceable in terms of quality. I don't know how many quality goalkeepers would be up of Hugo standard would be up for coming to Spurs at this very moment in time. So I think we're lucky to have a player like Hugo that's been at the club for as long as he has as well. I mean, he could probably leave now and go back to, I don't know where, but somewhere in the German league, the French league. I'm sure they'd be gagging from the Italian league. They'd all have him, I'm sure. So I'm sure he hasn't been short of options down over the years, and I think we're very, very lucky to have him. And I think he's kind of like an old school keeper in a way, possibly, in that possibly keepers in the past didn't have to be as good with their feet, but were unbelievable shot stoppers. And I think that's what Hugo is. He's an unbelievable shot stopper, not great with his feet. I even saw a lot in the City game that he passed it really, really short to Romero, and Romero kind of pinged it out. And same to Dyer, kind of gave it to Dyer and then gave a kind of longer ball out. So maybe that's a tactic to look at going forward. That the two boys are going to be pinging out balls. But yeah, basically Hugo, big thumbs up for him, and Goalini, yeah, hopefully we don't see too much of him.
Fingers crossed. I just want to come to you as well, Hazard, because obviously there's been a lot of talk that obviously if we do get a new keeper in, we're going to have to pay a lot of money, and we have a lot of issues at the moment to fix. But obviously, being a former player yourself, how much better would it be to get a youngster in, maybe not Goalini, someone else, and for Hugo to show him the ropes? Would that be something ideal? Is that something that would have worked in your day as well?
Yeah, I think that we're reaching the stage whereby we need to. We can't hang around too much longer and wait too long because he's on his last legs. He's been a world-class goalkeeper. And is still a very good goalkeeper, but he's on his last legs, at 36, 37, 38. We've maybe got 2 more good seasons if we're lucky out of him, because your reflexes and your agility do dwindle as you age. So it's important that we do find a keeper that we can get in and work with. Sorry, just turning my phone off. And get to work with Lloris as well, and Lloris educate him and show him things that he can develop and grow with. But it has to happen soon, because what we don't want is to be 18 months down the line and suddenly find that we need to find a top class keeper to replace them, because they're not easy to come by. I mean, when I was playing, we had one of the greatest, in my opinion, Ray Clements. First of all, I had Pat Jennings, one of the very, very greatest. And then we had Ray Clements, who was incredible goalkeeper, so best. And not only that, neither of them ever really got injured. But when Ray did, we had a young goalkeeper called Tony Parks, who for me would have been equally as good of both if he'd have been 2 inches taller. He was just maybe 2 or 3 inches a little bit short, but he was a brilliant keeper. So we were very fortunate that we had Parks ready to sub for Clements, and obviously he learnt so much off Ray Clements as well. And that's what we must do now. We must be searching out a young, up-and-coming quality goalkeeper who can be educated off Lloris, because the time's coming very soon when we're going to need one.
100%, and that is the thing. But hey, we've managed to get 3 points off of City, and it feels lovely jubbly. I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. We'll go around in a carousel. So Spurs Views, aka Dara, where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Yeah, you can find me, guys, at SpursViews_, just there. Only on Twitter, not on anything else. So if you want to hear me nattering on about Spurs for any bit longer, you'll find me there. And guys, just make sure you're subscribing to Hollie's channel. She does some absolutely top stuff. I'm sure everyone watching already knows that. But yeah, if you haven't already, 100% be subscribing.
Thank you. Cheers, Dara. And Patrick, where can everybody find you doing your thing in your jazzy
just
hat?
like Daryl did there. So basically on Twitter at Patrick Tyrant, and then Views TV Official is our podcast. But I'm also on so many other podcasts and streams throughout the week. The Football Terrace. I was there for the watch along for the Spurs game, so that was quite interesting. I'm glad we won, because obviously I was getting watched by thousands of people, and it wouldn't have been nice if we would have lost that. So that was cool. But yeah, thanks, Holes, once again. Always lovely to be on there, and you're doing great things. So yeah, everyone smash the like and subscribe button for Hollie.
Thank you so much, Patrick. And Mickey, I'm pretty sure everybody can find you, but let the people know.
Any local golf course, you'll find me there every day. Trust me. But guys, listen, it's a great show. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, because it really is a good show. I thoroughly enjoy when I come on here. This is my second time. Hopefully I come back in the not too distant future. So it really is a great show. So make sure that you subscribe and watch every week.
Thank you very much, Mickey. Like I say, thank you to you lot in the panel as well. Some of you have become members tonight, which is a bit crazy to think that you're going to pay to get my emotes and things, which is rather bizarre. But thank you very much. And to you guys as well for joining me. But hopefully we can get those 3 points against Burnley, because that would also be lovely jubbly, because I don't want to lose against them and I don't want to draw. I want to win. We always want to win. But until next time, come on, you Spurs.
See you all. See you guys.